How long did it take for you to, like in terms of months or years, to get to the point where you were comfortable coaching other guys?
Oh God, dude, comfortable coaching other guys, that took years and years. It took.
Mm.
I started coaching about 3 years, almost 4 years after I started, and even then, I was just constantly doubting myself. I was constantly. I remember telling a good friend of mine, I'm not fit to coach. Like this is crazy. I don't know why I got recruited, and it's the same way.
Mm.
I'm sure it's the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in academia, and I'm sure it's anytime you could have a PhD, which you do, and I'm
Mm.
sure the first time you step in front of a classroom, even with a PhD, you're like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm.
They're like, they're gonna see through me. I'm a
Yeah,
fraud.
yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, and so it was like that for a while, and I'm even to this day, I'm my own biggest critic. And obviously to this, now I've got a lot more experience. So I've done this so many times. It's kind of, I know what I'm doing. But it, I was coaching probably 2 years before I got to the point where I was just kind of comfortable, and
Mm.
obviously there's always that. I'm always pushing beyond that to try to make myself uncomfortable because that's the growth process. But even after I got consistent, I doubted my own ability to coach this into other people and to teach them these same skills. And I think that's also the hallmark of the constant improvement process and becoming a good coach in this as well. Because I don't care how good you are in field, if you can't teach that to others, and that's a very, very difficult skill, then you're not a good coach. And you need to have, in my mind, you need to have three things to be a good coach. You need to have gone through it so you know what it's like and you can teach it. You need to be able to do it and perform, and you need to be able to, in this case, you need to be able to live a lifestyle that sets an example for students. And
Mm.
because I do life and dating coaching, I can't, for example, hire a coach or even myself and have a messed up life. I can't have messed up inner game. I can't go out there and just be depressed all day because so and so didn't like me, or even depressed because of my life situation or anything else. Like I have to have my own life nailed down if I'm going to set an example
Mm.
for students that are trying to do the same thing. I have to be attractive. I have to stay in shape. I have to do all these other things because I have to live that example for these guys.
Yeah, man, that's a tough calling. Like I know exactly what you mean. Like sometimes I just feel down. Maybe something happened in my family life or something on the rare occasion when and now I have an infield, for a big group of people. And I'm thinking, oh man, I really don't. I'm just going to call someone else to do this. But I realize I can't do that.
Yeah,
Then I'm just being a hypocrite, and I have to go. And even if I have to go in at the first part of the night, I'm kind of down. I got to suck it up, and I gotta be be the guy that they expect me to be.
yeah,
And in a way, they keep me accountable, because then I can't
absolutely.
slack off.
Yeah.
So, what have you been up to lately? Like in terms of you've gone through all of these years of coaching, and you've been coaching for a long time. You're in your own company. What's it? You're doing mainly one-on-one coaching. Is that the correct understanding? Or
I'm doing everything and
okay,
anything at this point.
okay,
It's crazy. I do in terms of training. I do long-term coaching. I do one-on-one coaching, and then I do boot camps. The long-term coaching is where we meet every week or every other week, depending on the
nice.
program, and we meet over Skype video coaching, and so I can do that worldwide. So I've got guys in every continent except Antarctica at this point, and which is a challenge too because you think, oh, it's easy, I coach a guy in New York and LA and Chicago, whatever, and then some guy calls up from India. He's like, I need help, and I'm like, I've never been to India. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's difficult. It's a new challenge all of a sudden. And so we have the cultural barriers and everything else, but that's my long term. And then I have the one-on-ones, and then I have boot camps on top of that, and that's your traditional 3-day format boot camp, and the one-on-ones
right,
is one-on-one coaching and everything too, and that's live. So I'm always flying around for that. And then
right.
the fourth component at this point is I'm working on my first product, and so I'm
Nice,
I'm putting time into that, and
great.
then of course managing the business.
Yeah,
So it's got to wear many hats in this
yeah.
industry.
Okay, so what's the long term coaching that's mainly remote coaching through Skype video?
Yeah.
Is it a group chat?
No, it's one on one.
Okay, that's also one on one. And
Yeah.
what is the length in terms of long term? Like how long and how short can it be?
Oh, I've got guys that get what they want out of it in 2 months, and I have guys that are still working on. I have guys that are becoming coaches, and they've been in it for 3 years. So it just depends
Interesting.
on what you want out of it. The
Right.
main thing is when we first start our first call, I ask you, okay, where are you? We figure out where you're at now, and then we figure out where do you want to be? What are your goals? And of course, your goals may adjust, but where do you ideally want to be? You graduate when you reach that goal that you're trying to accomplish. And if at that point, if you want to reset another higher goal maybe and get better at it, then you can, and you can stay in my program. But the graduation point is when you achieve your goal, not someone else's goal, not what the community thinks, not what the industry thinks, not what your mom thinks. It's when you get what you want out of this. And that's dating, that's relationships, that's even business stuff. A lot of my guys, because I do life coaching, a lot of my guys, some of my guys are married. Some of the guys don't have any relationship problems. Some of the guys are doing the life coaching side of that as well. So whatever the goal happens to be, when they accomplish that, that's when they're good to go.
Right. So how long have you been doing life coaching?
I started that in about a couple years ago.
Okay. Right.
And just because I started to realize that it's not enough to coach guys and just give them technique. Because a lot of these guys need to clean up their life. And so now it's funny because the media loves it because it's kind of media friendly, but it's also like people don't see that side of not only our industry but just in general. Everybody knows that one guy who, you know, his place is a pigsty and he doesn't have a job, or maybe he has a job and he's slacking at work and his life is in shambles. You know, he can't get a girlfriend, he has no friends, and it's hard to ask for help when you're at that point because it's embarrassing, you know. And at some point you just get so down that you say, okay, I'll do whatever it takes to do this. And that's when those guys call me. And for whatever reason, I've developed a niche in this industry for being that go-to guy when nothing else is working. And so I kind of get that clientele all the time. And a lot of those come through referrals and everything else. So those guys call me, and then my job at first was, okay, I got to fix this guy, and let's tell him how to approach women, and then meet up with him and realize you're not ready to approach women. Like I'm gonna have you approach women anyway, but the whole rest of the day we're cleaning up your posture, your hygiene, your clothes, how you present yourself, your communication, social skills across the board. And you know, sometimes I'll do one-on-ones, and I'll go and I will live with the guy for 2 weeks, and I will stay at his place. And sometimes it's not a pleasant thing to do because he lives in the ghetto in a pigsty, and the first thing we have to do is throw all the trash away. And I have this one client that when I first started coaching him, he had over 200 beer bottles in his place. Wow. And this is not from like last week, like he threw a party. This is like from the last 2.5 years.
Oh, nasty! So they're like all moldy and stuff, and just.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that's, you know, you're not. I don't care what you say to her. She comes back to that, and it's game over.
Was he displaying them proudly? Like, did he put
No,
them all
no. He was embarrassed by it, but he just didn't.
Okay.
You know, he didn't, no.
Okay. So, well, I've had several clients where when I first meet them, I'm thinking, first of all, we need to extend your timeline because you have so many other problems that you didn't even realize. And then that actually motivated me to study more of therapy, like to learn how to do it. And luckily I was in the university setting at the time, so I had access to this huge library and a whole psychology department. But it is a huge field. So so this is an important part of it because, as you were saying, you do have a reputation for handling really tough cases. Right. And what was the training that you went through, or like how did you prepare yourself to coach the really tough cases?
Well, it was a combination of doing it a lot because I was forced to do it. But I think a big advantage I had going in was, especially in the Marines, I was a Marine sergeant. And so when you're in the military, you have, you know, subordinates just like at work, except in the military, that is your life. That's not just your job. So when guys in the Marines would have trouble paying their bills, they'd come to me. And I'm like a Marine sergeant, and I'm like, I'm not your dad, but I had to be that. I had to be that role model, and I had to be that mentor. And for the first time, I was kind of thrown in that position where it's not just what do I do for this job situation, it's how do I – and I even had guys in the Marines tell me, okay, what do I do? I don't have a girlfriend, blah, blah. And at that point, I was like clueless, right? I had no idea. And but I was thrust in that situation, and so I had to adapt to that, and I had to learn how to listen. I had to learn how to coach. And so I brought that experience into this when I started this, and then I had to supplement that with learning therapy, learning counseling, learning a lot of psychology, learning the same tools that, you know, your therapist and your counselor learns, learning the life coaching aspect of that. At one point, I explored all of the techniques that they were using, and of course, I went through it myself when I was on this journey, and then kind of put all those skills together and use those then when I was coaching, and that's when we started to see like big gains with the guys.
Right.